Good afternoon. So I have to speak today or this week with a purposely raspy voice because I'm sick. So I'm sorry for y'all. I have a little bit of a head cold.
I like it. It's like deep and it's deep,
I
it
know.
makes it feel like you're really,
I know it sounds like I'm actually a professional when in reality I'm not a professional at all. It kind of is what it is. So, but I'm feeling definitely better. Lindsey, you know that I like to have a good time. I like to hang out, you and I have had a couple beers together, etc. This is how sick I was. Felt fine all last week. Went into Saturday, went to my friend's house for a Super Bowl party, left at the halftime show to go home and go to bed. Like that shows you how sick I was.
It was not because of the halftime show, right? Are we?
No, it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the fact that, and I didn't even drink anything. Like I didn't feel good. Went home, pounding headache, and just didn't feel good. And basically, we had a webinar we were supposed to do on Monday, and I ended up canceling. It was not you and me, but it was me and Cindy doing a sales strategy webinar on how to double your MRR in 12 months or less in 2023. Yep. Ended up postponing that a week. So I apologize to everyone, but I'm still congested. I'm pretty much back to normal now, other than like my head is like clogged up, which sucks. I hate that. But better than being down for the count all week. So anyway, we are back me and Lindsey are back for our week number 4 of our MSP cold prospecting playbook. And just a couple of, we're going to do a little bit of a rehash of weeks 1, 2, and 3. But something I want to say really quick going into this, I have in the last week, 2 weeks, I've had probably 50 messages come through on Facebook Messenger. I have 2 Facebook accounts because, long story on that, but I have 2 Facebook accounts. So I get both. So I kind of got to monitor both. But I had probably 50 messages coming back saying cold prospecting doesn't work for MSPs. Cold prospecting is not something that I should be doing. It's scammy to cold prospecting. All this negativity around cold prospecting. And one of the things that I'll tell you guys with that, everybody that's watching, we signed over 20 new members into my coaching program in the last 2 months. Not even less time than that. Let's just say in 2023, we've signed over 20. One of those have come from referral.
Yep.
So, and I think last week it was 18 we talked about. So we've added more to that. So I want you guys just to think about, even in my world, and I know I'm not an MSP anymore, but the same processes here that we're talking about work for MSPs. I did this with my MSP in Milwaukee in 2010 through 2015 when I sold the company, and it absolutely works. And a really important thing that I'm asking you to do on my behalf, forget the marketing queen that's in the room with us. That's, move her to the side. You're on that side of me. So move you to the side. I wish I could actually do that whole thing where I just move you.
Wait, let's do it.
Yeah. But cold prospecting is fine. If you do it in a slimy way, it can be slimy. If you do it shady, it can be shady. But if you do it with the right concepts, which is everything we're talking about, and what's cool is you can go back in the Facebook group or on the pages or in the YouTube page or in LinkedIn or wherever you're watching this on. If you go back and look at my profile over the last 3 weeks, you can see the things we do that Lindsey and I did to kind of piece this whole thing together. And then we're going to take this whole thing and bundle it into a little landing page for you guys. And it's going to be a public-facing landing page where you can watch all 4, do all 4 lessons, do all that there. If you do it the right way, this one 100% can be a very, 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 how many varies you want to get on there on top of that? Very functional, controllable, scalable process to massively grow your business. And the same concepts that we're talking about here work with MSPs, work with coaching firms, work with retail companies. Like they work across the board. So get the stigma of cold prospecting is not for me out of your head. Do you want to grow your business? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, do what we're doing. Follow through. And it takes, the last thing I'll leave you on this with, if you guys have questions, this is a live broadcast. You're welcome to comment. We can see them here on the screen. It is really important that you actively put a process in place and be disciplined and execute for a long period of time. That's one of the things that screws people up with marketing, because it's not the most high converting process. Like none of it is like, especially cold. As you get warmer, it gets higher conversions, but a lot of people love referrals because they convert really high. You know, you probably convert 50% or more of your referrals. Well, that's not going to happen in marketing, especially cold prospecting. Even warm prospecting, it doesn't convert that well. And people get this whole concept of, oh, it's not for me. So do it, work on it, be consistent about it, and execute like crazy for a long period, and you will see results. It's that simple. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Lindsey. Lindsey, you didn't even share your screen today, I think.
I have not yet. I'm letting you have your moment, Chris.
Oh, my moment. Okay.
Yeah, have your moment. No, I think that all of that is great. You know, I have like so many things to add to it, but I want to keep us on track. The only thing I want to say with that is, if referrals have gotten you here, we're not saying like referrals are terrible. We love them. Like, yes, free leads, please. That's great. But if your goal is to grow, right? And so you have to ask yourself, what is my goal? Like, what is it? We don't know. What is your goal? If your goal is to grow, if your goal is to grow the company, whether you want to retire from it and take a bootload of money with you, or you want to sell it, or you want to grow as far as it can go, and then you'll decide. Either way, you've got to become in control of the cash flow. You've got to get in control of the leads that are coming in, and we can't do that with referrals. And so I am just like really commending the work that we've put in over the last 4 weeks, Chris, of being here in the group, because if you take this and step by step, I promise you, and you walk through this, this is a challenge. Like, let's see who will do this. If you go through this step by step and you go do the things, you will change your life. Like, you won't just see some traction right now. Like, you will change your entire life, because you will see, oh, I can be in control of this. I can be in control of how many leads come in. I can control this now. I can grow when I want to grow. So just the value that we had, the education that we've shared over the last 4 weeks, this was like worth gold in my opinion, right? So
you're a little biased, but no, it is very, very valid. And as with anything, Lindsey could be the best coach in the world. I could be the best host in the world, whatever.
You're all right.
You have to actually execute and do this stuff. And I know it's not the best return. And my point with saying that it's not the best return on leads or even investment is you have to have staying power. Lindsey calls it stamina.
Yep.
And it's really important that you do that. And I will tell you, you can, like, Lindsey, you watch what we do inside of our back end on 7-Figure, and how much we grow that firm and how much we've grown it over the last couple of years. It's really directly related to outbound marketing and cold marketing.
Yep. And you just have to commit to getting it done. It's really funny in our new onboarding process for Marketing Machine. So inside of 7-Figure MSP, once you've went through sales and then you come into marketing side, the very first thing, like day one with Lindsey in onboarding, you're going to be scheduling your webinar, which is what we're about to talk about over the next like 30, 40 minutes, is your webinar and how to get in front of more leads at one time. Day one, you're doing that. Day two, you're now going out and you're inviting 5 people to that webinar. So you just cannot give yourself room to doubt, room to second guess, room to say, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, you just have to go. Literally, you just got to go.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hop into today's presentation. We're gonna be talking about the webinar Endzone. So let me go ahead and present my screen. Say hello, everybody that's hanging out with us. Say hello to us. Talk to us.
And if you have questions on what we're going through here, feel free to comment on whatever medium you're on.
Yep.
And we will maybe bring you on the screen. Well, not you per se, but your comment on the screen, and we'll go through that. So.
Yep, absolutely. And if you have not granted StreamYard permission to see your name, we can't see your name. It will just show up as Facebook user to us. So if you want us to like say, hey, whoever your name is, just grant StreamYard permission to see your name. That's it. All right. So welcome back, everyone, to week 4, all about the webinar Endzone. Today, we're going to talk about how to score big with prospects through a live event, training, or masterclass. This is ultimately, let's see who's been listening. Ultimately, to get them to the end goal. Who remembers, we've talked about it for the past 3 weeks, who remembers where all roads lead to? And if you're one of our members watching, like, I want to see you in the chat telling us where all roads lead, because this is the key to getting you in front of more of those people and getting more people to that end goal. Okay, it's literally scoring big. It's right there in the title. And everything over the last 4 weeks has been Super Bowl football themed. And it's all about, running the play, scoring big, going to the end zone. That's about all I know of football. So that's all I got. Actually, fun fact, I use AI. I used OpenAI to come up with the titles for these workshops.
Can't argue with that either. I like that.
Yep. I said, give me titles that are football themed for the following workshops. And they were like so boring. It was like how to do a webinar. Like they were like so boring before, and then it comes back with this. So, all right, here we go. So let's talk about what exactly is a webinar. Okay, what is a webinar anyways? Do I have to just go talk to myself for 40 minutes? Do I have to go stand in front of a camera? And do I have to have professional lighting and have a professional setup? And no, you do not have to have all those things. A webinar or training is literally as simple, and you actually have a screenshot right over here on our screen. This is one of our clients, John Hansman, and one of his collaborators from someone within the industry. That was Blake. It looks like Blake over at Total. They went and they did a joint webinar. So this was simply, they're hanging out, they're answering questions, they're educating, they're talking about some things in the security place and the security field. And he says, hey, here's a win. We had 10 people on today's webinar, which is absolutely incredible to have 10 people on there. But this is literally just a way for you to speak to many people at one time. Okay, so if you think about how many first-time appointments or introductory meetings could you schedule in a day? Realistically, let's say they're 30 minutes long. That's kind of on the long side. I would suggest 20 minutes. But let's say 30 minutes a day. You could probably realistically, fit 20 a day. And that's like a lot of appointments to take back to back to back to back. I would not recommend that. But if you could go and schedule a webinar, this room where you're leading these people through a lot of the same stuff that you'd be covering in this introductory meeting, and you can speak to many people at one time, you are going to speed up the process of, one, building trust, and two, you're going to scale your time. Okay, because we know that a lot of leads are going to be up here. And then the more that they get to learn about the company, or the more that they realize that, hey, that's not really our goal. Like, we don't really care about that. We just want to stick with our break, fix, shop, etc. They're going to weed themselves out. So you're going to save your time, you're going to scale your time, and you're going to save a lot of energy. Okay. Now, those that do stick with you through the webinar and they're listening and they're into it, you're building trust with them. You're building relationship. You're building rapport with them, so that whenever you get through that webinar and you're driving them to the next place, which is your first time appointment, go back to workshop 1. If you're feeling a little lost on first time appointment, CSRA, we covered all of that in the very first workshop. But you're ultimately speeding up that trust building process, so that whenever you say, hey, the very next step after everything you've learned today, the very next step is to go and book your call with us right here for our strategy session, your cybersecurity strategy session. And we're going to talk about the next best steps for your company. Okay, well, now they've just listened to you for the last 45 minutes. They've interacted in your webinar. They've asked questions. You've answered them. They've been educated. They understand that, hey, it's not a matter of if you're breached. It's a matter of when it happens. They get it. Their light bulb's starting to come on. And so now they're going to book that first time appointment with you. Okay, so you are massively weeding out people who are never going to work with you to begin with at this scale, on this monthly, retainer, or this monthly recurring revenue process. And you're weeding them out, and you're pulling in the people who are in it because they're the right people. They're ready to go to the next step. Okay, so this is going to position you or your company as the expert. If we think back to the A in the cash messaging method, that was act like the expert. So this is going to position you, your company, as the expert. We have this running joke about Amy, our AI. It's AIMEE. Amy. And we said that Amy, we like to take our questions to her because she's really funny. She's kind of witty. And we said, hey, how do I position myself as an expert? And it was really cool to see what she said over here. She says, do you want to be seen as an expert? Here's the secret. Create content that adds value. Connect with people. And don't be afraid to stand out. Okay. And what are the things that you're doing in a webinar? You are creating content that is highly, highly valuable. Exactly what we're doing here today. Right? We're delivering, we're helping you solve a problem. We're helping you with something that you need help with. You're going to do that exact same thing in your webinar or training. You're serving, you're delivering value, you're connecting with people, right? We're not hiding behind a keyboard. We're connecting with people. We're getting our face out there. You're going to position yourself as that authority figure. They're going to grow to know you. Okay, if someone spends 45, 60 minutes with you, they're going to know you a lot more than they did when they first came into that webinar. Okay, so this allows you to position yourself as the expert and to stand out from everybody else that's out there. Okay, webinars move your ideal clients to take action, filters out leads who are not a good fit, and ultimately scales your time and income. Okay, so let me see if I'm going to check the comments as we.
Hey, really quick from me on that one thing. Can you back up one slide? I just want to talk to this because I think it's a very relevant point. You guys will notice how John Hansman on the screen there is interviewing Blake from Total. And I will tell you, you can kind of see how this works too. Lindsey and I are going back and forth. We're using StreamYard as a platform. We also use Zoom. Sometimes you can see John was using Zoom in webinar format there. It's much easier to do the consultative side to side interview type approach than it is to sit there on a webinar and be just alone. So if you're worried about, I don't know if I can go live on my own, I'm worried about going too fast, just do an interview type scenario, just like Lindsey and I are doing here, because you can just be yourself. It's a lot easier to just be yourself when you're interviewing somebody. That's just a really good tip that I think is great for people that are trying to get into this from scratch.
I'm sorry, Chris. I'm like pressing all the buttons over here.
Oh, I'm not even paying attention to you. I'm looking at the camera, so whatever. That's actually another good tip. I wasn't even paying attention to what Lindsey is doing, because what other people sometimes do is they look down at the screen, and you look at my eyes here. I'm looking at the screen. This is me looking into the camera iris, which is you kind of have to train yourself to do that a little bit. But look at how much more this connects with you. This is what I have so much respect. After you do this for a while, you have so much respect for TV personalities to be able to rattle the stuff off that they can rattle. And let's not forget, they are working off of a teleprompter, reading and delivering it almost in conversational tone. That's hard. If you've ever tried to actually read a script and deliver it like you're conversational, man, it's hard. So I have so much respect for them, especially after doing all of this and then having, I've worked off teleprompters, and man, you better know your script. They're doing the stuff off the cuff. They don't even know their scripts.
Yeah. They're awesome. And it is a muscle, which is exactly why in the marketing machine, it's like day one, schedule the webinar. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear those excuses. I've never been live. No, I'm scared to be on camera. Nope. We're just going to do it. We're just going to pull
so much of that paralysis by analysis if you let that happen. And it's never going to be perfect. Just go, get it done, perfect it later.
Absolutely. And then you're going to go do it again.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So now that we know what a webinar is, now we're going to start getting into the good stuff. I want to know in the chat, those of you that are hanging out with us, have you ever hosted a webinar, live event, training? Why or why not? Okay. Let me know. And then let me know what's been the biggest obstacle in positioning yourself as the expert. Maybe you said, hey, I know that I'm the best in this area. I know that I have the tools, the knowledge, the experience, the credentials to really serve, to grow the company. What's holding me back? Why am I not doing this? I really want to talk about it. You've got Chris here. You got Chris Weiser. He's not afraid of positioning himself as the expert. So now's your chance to get any questions answered by him and me. So definitely let us know. Let us know what's holding you back. We'll speak to that. I think
we'll do one of our own screens like this one, because we got our full Zooms every Wednesday when we do our big coaching calls. We got to do a screen like that where everybody's waving and we record it. That's kind of cool.
That is cool. That is super cool. We should get everybody to hold up a piece of paper with letters that spell something out. Maybe it should say Chris Weiser doesn't suck, and we can take a picture of that.
That's not true.
All right, good. So let's keep going. There's a video here. I'm not going to play it because my internet's weird, but this was a video from Randy Bryan. He's one of our clients. He's awesome. Randy, Debbie, hello, we love you. They are based in a little bit below San Antonio, Texas, and they were sharing how they went out with their cold prospecting campaign. They called up their list, did their first webinar, and are actually planning now. So they booked appointments from it. It's working. The process is working. It's so cool. And the video, because Randy's like, it's working. And we're just going to keep doing it until it's not working. And right now it's working. So really cool video. So say hello to him if you see him in the group. All right. So mindset check-in. Take whatever it is that you need. So whatever is the reason that you are not hosting the webinar, you're not putting yourself out there. Maybe you're afraid to get behind the camera, or you're afraid, you've got these reservations and, being too salesy or whatever the case is. Take whichever one of these that you want. I am the expert, period. Write it down, put it on a Post-it note. At pre-day, the Q1 pre-day event, and literally every single person in the room had to choose one of these and write it on a Post-it note. They had to write it down so they could tell themselves, take what you need to remind yourself that you are the expert. You do get to sell. You do get to go out there, put your services into the world. Okay. Because if you're not doing it, no one else is. And we've got to, if we want to grow the business. Okay. If they're not buying from me, they're buying from someone else. Trust the process. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And then all the great speakers were bad speakers at first. Okay. Take what you need. Which one would you say that you needed the most in the beginning, Chris?
For me, let me just look at that here.
Or was it a different one? Was there like a different motto that you had to tell yourself?
Well, I've never really had any issues with just going, but it's a really good question, because I look back at myself, and mine was more getting enough of an audience to talk to. I think was always, it's all, I wanted an audience, and I wanted it a lot. And, my favorite topic is myself. So I didn't have a whole
never an issue.
Didn't have a whole lot of issues with that. But let me look at that. Let me tell you about my wife.
Okay.
My wife is, and my wife, you met her a few times, and actually saw her this morning. She struggles a lot with imposter syndrome. That first one, I am the expert, period. And my wife is a nurse, came from the bedside, and now she is a aesthetics, fillers, Botox injector. And she's extremely good at what she does. And she is, without question, top 5 in Austin. I'm in Austin, Texas.
Wow.
Without question, top 5 in Austin. Doesn't even see herself as top 1,000.
Wow.
So that the battle, and it's interesting because, and have you met Shelby in person? Shelby's my social media manager. She's also Sarah's my wife, Sarah's social media manager. And we do all of this content. Shelby comes to my house once a month, and they record all this content. And it's been this constant battle of getting her out of the mindset issues. And I know that's a real thing, but trust me, your audience believes you're an expert. Trust me on that. It's real. It's real.
Yeah. And I would have never guessed that. Right. So that's proof. It's like nobody knows these things from the outside looking in. So like if you're thinking, oh, well, am I really a cybersecurity expert? Am I I don't have any credentials, right? Like, am I the expert? I promise you, your community looks to you like you're the expert. You know more than they do. You're that person. So you have to put yourself in the position to get the reach, to get the visibility, to get the traction, to move them to where you want them to go. So I would have never guessed that about Sarah, right? Like she's the expert. She's the person. Like she's the one that you'd go to for Botox, etc. So just know that if you're feeling any of these things, right? Like from the marketing coach, like I hear you and I see you and we can move through it. Okay. Show up messy, and then we're going to do it over and over and over again. All right. So a couple of key decisions. So I'm going to put a link right up here under our video, and I want you to go grab this handout. So do we see it?
Yep.
Okay, good. So it's sevenfigureMSP.link/webinar-endzone. And this is just like the last 3 weeks. So you don't have to enter in your email address. You don't have to do anything crazy. It's literally going to take you straight to a download. You're going to download this. This is going to have key decisions on there. It's going to have some key decisions that have to be made before your webinar, and it's going to have some other best practices that you need to know and get prepared before you go into that webinar. Okay, so you can literally take what we're talking about over the last 3 weeks and today and go and do these things. Now, if you want help with that, of course, talk to Chris and me and Nora and Donna and the team, but you can absolutely go take these things and do it. Okay, so number one, what is the date of your webinar? I recommend if you're brand new, you've never ever done this before, give yourself 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, like 3 if you're feeling like super on it and you're going to go do the things. 4 weeks from now is a safe spot. Okay. Add that to your calendar. So I literally just Googled this today, and onboarding 4 weeks from today is March 15th. Okay, so schedule it March 15th from today, February 15th. Add it to your calendar. Choose a time, 1 to 2:30 p.m. I don't care. Choose a time that you're going to host this webinar. That's going to be the time that you hit live in your Zoom webinar, in your StreamYard webinar, and you've got people in there watching you, and you're presenting and you're educating. Okay, that's your time. Let us know whenever you've locked it in. All right. Now, next thing, there's Batman again. Next thing we want to do is we've got to lock in who our ideal client is for this webinar. So you'll see on your worksheet. Number 2, who do we want to be in this webinar? We don't want every single person to be in the webinar. We don't want, you can have all small business owners in the webinar, but we highly, highly recommend going back to that first week where we did your cash messaging method, and go back to the H where we honed in, we chose your target market, and say, okay, well, that first week I chose CPAs, or that first week I chose dental offices, right? Go back, figure out whoever your target market was. That's going to be who you want in this webinar. Okay. So whenever we built that list, we built out that list of your target market. Those are the people that we're calling, that we're emailing, that we're dropping in on, and we're inviting them to come into this webinar. Okay. And in this webinar, we're going to tailor our message to that audience, right? Because if we can even use this live stream right here as an example, it would be okay to have MSPs and CPAs and banks and marketing agencies. I could have all these different businesses in here, and I could teach you all how to go do your webinar. But it's going to be very difficult for me to really make it so easy and so directly applicable to your business, because I'm speaking to all these people in the room. They're from all different industries. They've got different issues, different problems, different kinds of clients. But whenever you're able to say, okay, this webinar is for CPAs, I'm going to be teaching how your CPA firm needs to get compliant with FTC safeguards, right? That's actually a terrible title. Don't use that. But
it's not the worst. But it's, what I will say, it's pretty damn relevant to the audience, and it's something that they're thinking of.
There we go.
It could be bad, but you kind of don't know. Like
it's very direct, right? So the reason why we want to hone in is so that you can be direct, right? You could talk to them specifically. If you think about this Facebook group, it's for the big Facebook group. It's for IT and MSP business owners, not CPAs, not dentists, not lawyers, not teachers. That's who it's for. It's specific. So we want to be specific in our webinars, okay? And our messaging and our content that's going out. That's going to help their light bulb go off. It's going to help your conversion rates go up. I promise you. Okay. Now, third thing we want to do is, what's the topic of your webinar? So you'll see over here some examples. Keep it simple. Keep it problem solution focused and straightforward. So maybe the example that we just came up with wasn't terrible. It probably could have been worded a little bit different, but you'll see a couple of examples over here. 4 ways to protect your CPA firm from hackers in 2023. So they know exactly what it is that they're going to walk away with. I'm not teaching them how to work from home. I'm not teaching them how to set up a website. I'm not teaching them how to update their Chrome, right? I'm teaching them 4 ways to protect their business from hackers, right? That's what they're going to walk away with. They know who it's for. It's for CPA firms, okay? If you look at the next one, what your dealership, so who's it for? Dealerships. And then what are they going to learn? What exactly you need to know about the FTC safeguards rule. And then the last one, why your business needs a cybersecurity risk assessment. Now, if you notice in the last one, it's very broad here. It's business. This is a webinar title that you could actually take back to your project clients, to anyone that you're currently working with on a project basis or on a retainer basis that's not monthly recurring revenue. So you could take this back and say, hey, I'm going to bring in all of my warm leads who've kind of worked with me before. Maybe we fixed something for them. I'm going to bring them in. And so I can keep it blanket here. I can keep it blanket. That's fine. But if you're going to go out and do your cold prospecting, I highly recommend narrowing down to dealership, CPA, dental office, etc. Okay. Anything you want to add there, Chris?
No, I think it's important to do that, but there are going to be some certain things that you have in your announcements or your repertoire that's not necessarily going to be focused on a specific person. Maybe if you wanted to talk about cybersecurity in general, not the worst thing to do. A good scenario with this would be, I'm going to do one general one a month and then 3 or 4 or 5 specific webinars for specific verticals.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's actually what Stephen G is doing this week. He has 3 webinars this week, which is incredible. Like, I remember whenever he came into Marketing Machine, Q3 of last year, and he was like, I am not even on social media. Like, I'm not even on LinkedIn. Like, how do I send
it? He wasn't at all. I'll say that. He was not at all.
He has 3 webinars this week. 2 of them are vertical focused. One's for law firms. I believe the other one's for CPAs. I could be wrong. And then the other one on Friday is generalized. So good point. Okay.
But I think it's so important to fine tune your messaging for specific people, but you also have to remember your overall client base can use messaging too. So maybe one is to just your clients. Maybe one is to overall your entire prospect base. Then you do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, however more. I know it's a lot of webinars, but just remember, you can take the exact same FTC safeguards discussion that would be geared towards CPAs and then hit car dealerships with the same thing. And yes, you're doing the same presentation, but it's a totally different audience. So just think about that is important.
Well, also it's like, what else are we going to do? What else are we going to do to get in front of 20 people at one time? So it seems like a lot, but once you get the process down, it's literally rinse and repeat, right? Take the message, take the slide deck, rinse it. So go through, edit it, repeat it, right? And now you're able to scale. So now this week, Stephen will get in front of dozens of his ideal clients without having to be on the phone or on a Zoom call or driving to their offices for 30 different appointments.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
Agreed.
So now the next step is we want to deliver value. So if you've noticed, like if you've been here with us over the last 4 weeks, like we have brought the heat, right? Like we have over delivered, again, biased. But you want to know what it is that people are going to walk away with. So what are they going to walk away with in the webinar? What are you going to teach? You do not want to bring them onto that training with you and you just pitch, right? And you just say, hey, you need to get a CSRA. Here's what it's like, or here's how to work with us from the very get-go. We don't want to do that. We've got to deliver value. We want to educate our ideal clients. We want them to have a basis of understanding of cybersecurity, of, hey, here's the risks that are happening in 2023. Here's these new updates that are going on. Here's new regulations by the Federal Trade Commissions or, within your niche, right? So we want them to have this working understanding. Use your time in the webinar to cover that, okay? So that whenever you get on the first time appointment, again, you're not repeating yourself over and over and over again. You can put it out there. They're going to walk away, whether or not they book that call with you, whether or not they ever work with you again, you can walk away with integrity and you can say, well, I delivered and I educated and I'm trying to help them. What they do from there is up to them. Okay. And again, it's like you're weeding out the people who are never going to work with you anyways. So an example here is write this out, like write it out in the chat, write it down on your worksheet from the download. So my ideal clients will walk away knowing how the FTC safeguard rules apply to their CPA firm and exactly what they need to do in order to hit the requirements. I know this is this 7-part framework. I'm going to teach them this. They're going to walk away with that. I can confidently say that. Okay. They will also realize, here's the kicker, they will also realize that they need outside help in implementing the requirements and in protecting their business from the risk that's out there. Okay. So this is really a mental note for you. But then once you know this, you can then go and turn this around and turn it into an email and say, hey, we're going to be hosting this training in a few weeks. We're going to be teaching exactly what your CPA firm needs to know in order to hit the requirements for the safeguard rules. You're gonna know exactly how to protect your business, right? So you're gonna get a baseline for this, and then you can go and use that as content to pull people in. Okay. And once you understand this, it's going to be a lot easier for you to pick up the phone and call the list. Remember the list of people that we built in week 1? So it's going to be a lot easier for you to call that list and say, hey, would love to invite you over to this webinar. We're going to be talking about XYZ. Here's what you're going to walk away with. I think it'd be super useful for you, right? You're going to feel a lot more confident doing that rather than saying, I don't know, just come hang out with me for 45 minutes. We have to get a working understanding first. All right, so number 5, go ahead, and this one's pretty straightforward. What is the call to action for your webinar? I would say for anyone in here that is, your work in the process, ultimately all roads are leading to that cybersecurity risk assessment. This is what we teach all of our clients. So all of the roads, whether it's a referral, whether it's a paid lead, whether it's a Google lead, whether it's a cold lead, webinar lead, whatever, all the roads are going to lead to that cybersecurity risk assessment. But I know if I reverse engineer before they get here, before they get to the CSRA, they've got to go through the process. They've got to go to that discovery call first and that first time appointment before that. So when I get off of a webinar, all my people are going to be directed to this call. Okay. So I typically, in our content, I call that a cyber strategy session. You could call it an FPC strategy session. You could call it a strategy call. Actually, today in onboarding, I did a little survey and several of our clients called it an introductory meeting. We had an initial meeting, initial strategy session. So you can, it's kind of like a tongue twister, a strategy session. You can call this whatever you want, but you want to be really, really clear at the end of your webinar where it is that you're going to drive your people. Okay. So that way at the end of your webinar, you can confidently say, okay, so now that you've hung out with us for 45 minutes, we've talked to you about what it is that you need to do in order to protect your company. Next step, go ahead, book your call with us here, and we will personally get on a call with you and look at what's happening in your company and make sure that you guys are protected. We will see if our cybersecurity risk assessment is for you, right? See how confident that is? That's very clear. They know why it is that they're going to get on a call with me. They feel informed. They're like, yeah, you're right. I did just spend 45 minutes learning these things. Well, now I know it's going to take a lot of work to do that. I probably need help in it. Let me book this call. Okay, so it's very clear what that next step is. So go ahead, write down your call to action and practice it. So during pre-day, we did a practice around the table. It was so cool walking around the room, seeing everyone practicing. You're literally reciting this. Now we did this 2 weeks ago when we did cold email workshop here in the groups. And, I was like, hey, if you're by yourself, go ahead, practice this cold call script out loud. If you're here and you want to go ahead and practice out loud, please do that. Practice your call to action, because you don't want to get to this point in your webinar to where you're like, all right, well, thanks guys, see you later. Because you're nervous and you're afraid of pitching, or you're afraid of asking people to go do the next thing. You want to slow down, take your time, say, hey, here's the next step. Make sure your company's protected. We need to get you into a cyber strategy session. We're going to pop the link right there in the chat. Go ahead and book your call there. So it's calm, it's clear, it's confident. I don't want to get to the end of a webinar or the end of a training or the end of a workshop and say, all right, go check out our website, right? Don't do that. Don't do that. We have a process. Work the process, okay? Practice your call to action. Be clear, be confident, be the expert. All right. So anything, Chris, that you would add to call to action, practicing? I mean, this we're going to wrap it up and put a bow on it right here.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. I think one of the things that I kind of, and I think it's important that you're not reading from a script. I'm a big fan, and you notice how Lindsey and I are doing, like, there's no script here. This is off the cuff. We have bullet points and we're working off topics. And actually, a really important point on a webinar, be on video. I think that's a really critical thing. Some people are just sharing their screen because they don't want to be on camera. You need to be on camera. They need to see you. You also shouldn't be reading from a script or from your notes or from whatever they are. Have a conversation with the crowd. And I know this gets hard. I know it starts out hard, but it gets more and more comfortable the more and more, like Lindsey and I just roll onto this thing and we're just
like, what's up?
Two friends BSing together about stuff we like talking about. Yeah. And, I'm a little bit stuffed up today, but I'm still on the call. I'm still doing it. So, some people, and granted, I definitely canceled my webinar on Monday. I postponed it a week. I had no voice. I literally, you hear what it is today. I literally it was like a squeaky, raspy mess. So I kind of didn't have a choice.
Out of the year I've known you, Chris, like you've never ever.
That's the first time I've ever postponed one ever, and it was only because I couldn't talk. Honestly, I didn't feel great, but I would have done it. But I just literally couldn't talk very well. And I did my onboarding with our new clients on Monday morning this past week, and I really struggled to get through it. And I kind of made the call at lunch on Monday, like, okay, we got to do this, and I think we're like 50 plus more registrations just because of that. We sent emails out. So we used it as a way to get more people on the webinar too. So it's okay to be genuine. It's okay to be yourself. One thing that I think you said earlier that I just want to reemphasize, do not do a sales pitch on these webinars. I think it's a very critical thing, and give away as much content as you can. Yeah. They're not going to do this stuff themselves.
They can't.
They can't do cybersecurity. They can't do that. And something that we've toyed with, which we do in certain webinar presentations and other things, is maybe do a self-assessment and then book your call to review your results. Things like this that let them start to see where they're at. Maybe take a look at, here's 5 things you can do. Take a look at your browser and see how many passwords you have stored in your browser. That would be, a 5. And then come back and do this one. And, do you have multi-factor authentication? Or do you have an authentication app, or do you have text? And then you can score that. And then you do like 5 different things on a score of 1 to 5, and then come back on the call and then you review the results. And if your score is, over 20 or over 15, then you should have a third-party cybersecurity risk assessment. I just made that up.
That is good. I like this. I like this a lot.
Pretty good. I like that a lot, actually. And you kind of see how some of this stuff just comes out of nowhere because you get comfortable with it.
I'm going to get a text, everybody, after this, and Chris is going to say, hey, we need a campaign for this for our client.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. So I think it's really important things to just get out there, do it, get comfortable with it. And to give you an idea, these are before the days of Zoom, before StreamYard, before any of this internet streaming that we were doing. I was doing webinars back in like 2010, 2011 on GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar, I think it was back then. They actually did have that. We did a webinar a week for 2 years straight in my MSP. It wasn't always me. Sometimes it was my sales guy. Sometimes it was my marketing manager. I would do like 2 to 3 a month, and then they'd do 1 to 2 a month to break it up a little bit. But we did a webinar a week for 2 years. And that's really how we got. And in the beginning, I did them to nobody. That's a real thing. I actually cried the first time I did a webinar, and there's nobody there. It was sad.
Are you really a business owner if you don't cry sometimes?
It was tough. It was hard. It was such uncharted waters back then. Like nobody did that. So it's important to do those things.
Yeah. This is good. And ask us, like, if you're watching and you're like, okay, well, I get it, and okay, well, here's my questions, or like, this is what's stopping me. Like, let's talk about it. I think that you all are in a great community here, and that's what we're here for. And this is what we do day in, day out, all day, is we help you guys grow. We help you put these pieces together. We help you do these things for the first time. We had someone today in onboarding for the marketing machine, and he was like, because it's like, remember, on day 1, scheduling webinar, day 2, we're sending out invites. So he was like, well, Lindsey, what do you mean? Like, I have to go like call these people? Like, and I'm like, yes, you do. He's like, well, what am I going to talk about on this? I'm like, don't worry, we're going to get there. step by step. I promise you, I will not throw you out to the wolves. We're going to get there. And I said, 95% of the other people that come onto these calls have never done this before. So you are not the outlier here. So it's okay for it to feel a little uncomfortable or scary. Everybody has to do it for the first time. Everyone. But once you've done it and you understand that, oh, okay, I'm inviting them in, but some of them can't make it. No worries. I'm going to move them to the appointment anyways. After I get done with it, business is going to go on as usual. I'm going to follow up with people. It's fine. And so once you kind of get that flow, it's a lot easier to just rinse and repeat and do it again. Do it 3 times a week if that's what you want. So I think, excuse me. So I think with all of that.
You getting what I got?
No, I hope not. It does seem like we pass things around though.
And we're all virtual when we pass.
We're all virtual. Like
the problem I have is that I never get sick because I don't have kids and I don't see a lot of people. But my wife went on a bachelorette party, and 2 of her friends were on this bachelorette party with kids. So she got stuff and then brought it home. So now, that's what happened.
I know. So, okay. So I think what I want to do from here is I just want to commend you all for hanging out over the last 4 weeks with us. If you're just catching this for the first time, go back through. I believe Amanda, our marketing officer at 7 Figure, I believe she's been putting these into guides.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, we're putting it on a single landing page, just so you guys know. We're going to put it on a single landing page, and it's basically going to be an evergreen, which means it's always there, series that you can go through along with the actual downloads that Lindsey has here, and then you can consume it all at once. So we're going to turn that, and this is a great example of some stuff that you can do also, especially those of you that are going through this evergreen webinar that we put together. We will take the content, record everything, and then put it up into a new lead management system. So we'll generate new leads coming out of this, giving the content away for free to MSP prospects, saying, hey, here you go. Here's our MSP cold prospecting playbook. It took 4 weeks to do this in real time, but here's all 4 episodes for you to view and consume right now. Put your email address in your cell phone and opt in. So that's what we'll do. And then we'll call down on those. And that's how you actively use this kind of content to get new opportunities.
Yep. Literally practicing what we preach. Also next week, Chris, can I share who's coming in next week?
Yeah.
Okay. So next week, so you guys have hung out with me for the last 4 weeks. I'm our marketing coach. Next week, you're going to get the GOAT, and you're going to get Cindy Phillips. And Cindy Phillips is our head sales coach. She is the GOAT, right? She's the greatest of all time. She is going to come in and be talking to you. So we've had several people reach out and say, we want to know more about the CSRA, and like we're doing network scans, but I don't think that's the thing. She's going to be in here talking all about cybersecurity risk assessments, about how do we pre-qualify these people? How do we move them through to the process? How do we start elevating our company ultimately to grow our MRR, monthly recurring revenue?
Yeah, and next week's topic, just so you guys know, so we're going to do 4 straight weeks with Cindy Phillips and me. Next week's going to be don't let your network assessment become a fumble. Learn how cybersecurity risk assessment can help your MSP business score big. Then we're going to move to week 2 is going to be turning on your prospects risk light bulb. Learn how managed service providers can win their first time appointment game.
Ooh.
Week 3 is going to be unlock the power of authentic conversations to create winning deals, an MSP guide to discovering objections and closing sales, objection killers, basically. And Cindy and I together are insane talking about all this stuff, by the way. Her and I click so well. It's unbelievable. Week 4 then will be scale your managed service provider business with one stack. Why good, better, and best service offers, that good, better, best pricing plans that people talk about, are no match for the cyber MRR king. Yep. So our whole concept of that is taking your leads out of these 4 weeks that we did. And Lindsey and I will be back in Q2 to do this all over again. But then we're going to take that and move it into 4 straight weeks of sales coaching with me and Cindy. So make sure, again, same time every Wednesday, 12:30 Central Time, we'll be back here doing the same exact concept. 4 weeks with Lindsey, and then we're going to come 4 weeks with Cindy. Then we're going to come back right after that and do 4 weeks with Ryan O'Hara talking about tech stack and the right pieces to put in your tech stack as well. So Ryan is currently our MSP in residence here at 7 Figure MSP. So he's an MSP that's a coaching member that also helps us build and make sure that our platform is right. So it's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. We have an awesome team. Okay, so great job.
He praised me on the Ryan thing, by the way. He's not that awesome. He's a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. He's all right. No, Ryan is great. Ryan is a huge help. He's an asset. All right, so just to recap, really before we hop off, so we've crafted your cash messaging method. We did this back in workshop 1. You know your expert status. You've planned your cold call talk track, so we know what we're going to say on these cold calls. We did that in week 2. We scripted out emails. This is insane what we've done over the past 4 weeks. We scripted out emails last week so that we can get people into the webinar. And then today we've actually scheduled, we've practiced, and we've already started planning these key decisions for our webinar. So next steps, continue to network, continue to ask questions, reach out to Chris, myself, the team here within the communities, ask us questions, get help, talk to your peers that are in here, reach out to some of our clients, ask them what's working for them, network, learn from each other, take action. That's like number one. If you had to walk away with nothing else, just take action every single day. Do not let the fear of imperfection stop you from the pursuit of progress, right? Like if you can take one step forward every single day, then that's a win. So take action and do something today, and ask us about the marketing machine. So that's it.
Really good stuff. Lindsey, you are a machine. I'm so excited. Speaking of machines, you're a machine. I'm so excited about where everything's going with this. And again, we'll be back next week. Me, Chris Weiser, and Cindy Phillips, who's our head sales coach here at 7 Figure MSP. Really excited about that. Lindsey, any parting words from you? I know we're a little bit early today, but I'm super pumped up about everything we're doing.
Yeah, I think we just have to come back to the basics. And if we think about everything that we've learned over the last 4 weeks, sure, we can call it cold prospecting, but what does that really mean? It's building relationship. It's connecting with people. It's putting ourselves out there. It's building a trust factor with those people on that list, right? We of course systematize it and we say we're going to cold call them, we're going to cold email them, and it sounds really cold, but it's not. It really is relationship building. So kind of going back to what you were speaking on the beginning of the call, and you said, I got this lashback and I got these people saying I'm not going to do that. Don't do it that way then. Don't do it in a way that feels gross and you're spamming people with cold messages and you're pitching them on your CSRA in the first call. Don't do it that way. You don't want to work with those people anyways, right? You want to filter out who you work with. I also think that beginning next week with Cindy, I think that's going to help so much, like tie all these pieces together by just realizing, like I do get to say no sometimes, and I don't want to work with everyone. And I get to, as Mike McAllowitz would say, I get to focus on my pumpkins. So those big clients, focusing on the MRR. I think it's going to pull a lot of pieces together. So it's been fun. Thank you, Chris. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us. And you guys come back next week and hang out with Chris and Cindy Phillips.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great day and we'll talk soon. Thanks, Lindsey. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.